Hi, and welcome to Integrating Technologies Week 1 Overview. Each week I'll provide to you, as the first resource in your group of resources, an overview of the week. And the reason for this file is to help you a little bit with the organization so we're very clear as to what the assignments are, what the activities are, when things are due, etc. So each week the first thing you should do is go through this. I'm going to give you more details on how this works in the next slide. Now each week these overviews will follow the same format. They'll start with a section on weekly activities. That will start with a numbered activity summary. So a page that's bulleted with numbers 1 through 5, 1 through 8, whatever it is. And that will be followed by activity details. Now that numbered list, the first list, should serve as your checklist of things that you have to do. The activity details that follow may not apply to each of those activities. Some may be very self-explanatory and easy to follow, but if I feel that I need to call your attention specifically to something, there will be slides following that list that explain it. This will be followed by an assignment section that follows the same pattern. There'll be a numbered assignment summary. These are things that you need to do. And then details if I feel that you need further explanation on any of those assignments. I would use your numbered summaries, both activities and assignments, as your checklist to make sure that you stay on target. So let's get started with weekly activities for week 1. First, I'd like you to watch Introduction to Integrating Technologies. This sets the framework for the entire class. It tells you about the expectations for the class, how things will work, etc. So it's very important to watch. Next, you will complete the Contact Information Survey, followed by the Experience and Expectations Survey. I'm going to give you more details on these later. Following that, you'll watch Introduction to Cloud Storage and take a short quiz, and then watch a series of videos, and these are instructional videos on the various technologies that we're going to approach this week. Google Drive, Dropbox, Live Binders, and there's a short one at the end that gives you some other options of things you could use. Okay, about the contact information survey. We're basically looking for some very simple information. Your Ramapo email, just as a confirmation that I can get in contact with you. Your program Gmail, and I'll speak about that in a second. And your portfolio URL so that when we do post your final project, everybody can get links to it and we can visit each other's work. Now about the Gmail. When you started with the program, we asked you to sign up for a Gmail just for the program. This is not your Ramapo Gmail account. Your email account for the college is a Gmail account, okay, but we don't want you to use that one. And the reason is that Ramapo is a Google Apps institution. And Google Apps means that these email and storage space, etc., is provided free by Google to educational institutions, and it gives them a measure of control over those accounts. So the college has an administrative framework around these accounts, and they can control their use. And the restrictions on those accounts are such that you can only share documents within the network. So we don't want you to produce work, beautiful work you want to share with your students, and then find out in the end that your students can't access that work because of the restrictions in place. So please use that program Gmail account, the one you created just for MSET. And if you have any questions about that, please email me because we don't want you to make a mistake with this. The expectation survey will follow. This is simply designed so I can better understand the needs of the class. It asks you things like your grade levels, your subject areas, your previous experience with some of these technologies. And there's a comments box at the bottom, so please feel free, and I encourage you to give me some feedback on perhaps expectations you have for the class or particular needs or things that you'd like to learn. I consider this class a constant work in progress, and it's constantly adjusted as the technologies change very quickly. There's a lot of things that we can cover, and we won't have enough time to do it. So I'd like to be able to focus on the things that would be meaningful to you. Let's take a look at your assignments. Now remember, these assignments are an addition to the activities that you've done previously. You could think of them like your homework, like the activities as being the classwork and the homework and the assignments being the homework, if you were looking at this in a traditional model, which it isn't. Now speaking of that, I'd like to take a moment to speak about the online class environment. In terms of educational history, the long history of education, these are still a fairly new thing. While not brand new, online instruction is fairly new, and it's my belief that we're still working out. We're still working out some of the best ways to do this, because there are certainly advantages to it. There are huge advantages, but there are also some drawbacks. And I find that one of them is that it's very easy for the class to become a series of dialogues between single students, the instructor, back and forth. And I think that we lose a lot in that environment by not meeting together, by not sharing and getting that personal contact. I think there's a loss. And I think in our particular case, where we're dealing with a lot of accomplished professionals who bring a lot to the table, that loss can be particularly acute. You guys have a lot to share, you have a lot of knowledge, there's a lot we can learn from each other, myself included. Now, I consider these classes, all of these classes, to be constant works in progress, and constant updates and revisions are necessary. But in particular, working with online classes, I'm interested in focusing on ways to improve the model and make it as beneficial for everyone as possible. To that end, the first assignment is going to be an introduction to classmates. This will be done through a shared Google Doc. Now, if you'll notice, on the resources, I have the due dates posted. The first due date, very simple, the completing of the survey to share your contact information, is a very short timeline. The class opens one day, the next day that assignment is due. And the reason for that is I need those Gmail addresses so that I can share out this document with you all so you can all get access to it. Okay, so I need those addresses quickly. I'll share them out to you, and it's just going to ask you for a short bio of yourself, a picture, but that will all be explained in the document. It's a simple process. There's a model there. I have created an introduction of myself on there with a picture. And if you have any questions about how to do it, of course, email me, but I think that part should be self-explanatory. The second assignment is a Google Drive assignment that we'll talk about in more detail in a second. But basically, it means installing Google Drive on your computer. Now, most of us have used it before, if not all of us have used it before, but a lot of people tend to interact with Google Drive through the web interface. They go online, they log into Google, they do their work there, and that is great. Okay, but there's also another piece that I find less people use that is a huge advantage and essentially a game changer in the way that you work. And that's installing Google Drive locally. And simply what that does is it brings a folder down to your computer when you install it. And anything you put in that folder, as long as you're online, is automatically synced back up to Google. You don't have to do anything. So it goes to your cloud space without you doing a thing. This eliminates the need for flash drives or other means of transmitting files. And it's an automatic backup. You don't have to worry about backing these. You put them in there, they simply sync up to there. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in a school district that'll allow you to install this, and you can campaign for this, you can make a case for this if you want, but they'll install it on your computer. It will also sync back down to your work computer or any number of devices. As long as you're logged in, everything will be kept backed up and synced, and it's a great way to work. Once you get used to it, it's just fabulous. So let's get into a little detail about how to do these two things, and let's get started. Okay, let's get started with Introduction to Classmates, the assignment. Okay, in order to complete this assignment, you're going to have to access a shared document. So as I said, you're going to share your Gmail address with me promptly. I will share it out to you. I'll send out an email to the class saying that that's done. At that point, you just need to log in using your MSET Google account and go to Drive. If you don't remember how to get there, There's the app in the upper right hand corner, the box that's made up of 9 boxes. If you click on there, you'll see Drive, and that will take you there. And when you get there, you're going to see essentially this picture that's on the left. On the left side of the page, you're going to see New, which is how you create documents. You're going to see My Drive, which is where anything you've created exists. And underneath that, you're going to see Shared with Me. And that's where things that you did not create but people have shared with you reside. So in order to get this document that I've shared with you, you're going to click on the Shared with Me option. Now, as in the center picture, those files will be shown on the right. You'll note that I have a box around something called Authentic Assessment and an arrow pointing to it. That's just an example of a file. You don't see Introduction to Classmates here because I created it, so it's in my drive. It's not in my Shared with Me section, but you will see it in your section. Simply open it, follow the directions that are at the top of that document to complete it. Okay, now these documents are generally ordered in date order. They don't have to be, but they're generally ordered in date order. But if they're not, or if you're having trouble finding it, one of the easiest ways is to resort this list where the most recent documents are on the top. In order to do that, you can take a look at the picture at the right. That's the upper right-hand corner of the screen. You're going to see there's a Share Date column, and the dates will be listed under there. But if you're not aware, you can reorder simply by clicking on that. So you can reorder them from oldest to newest. But in my case, 99% of the time I like my documents ordered from newest to oldest. So as things come in, I can see them. Also, and I don't think you'll need this, but if you ever do need it, there's a search box up there. So if you know the name of a file, you can search for it there. Okay, as always, if you have any questions or if you run into any problems, please send me an email, contact me. Do it as early as possible so we can help get it resolved for you. Okay, the second assignment is called a Google Drive assignment. And a lot of people use Google Drive. They use it in the cloud. They go through a web interface, which is fantastic, but it doesn't take full advantage of the capabilities. Now, and we'll go over this in more detail in the videos, but essentially you can install Google Drive directly to your computer. It will create a folder on your desktop, and then any work that you put in that folder is automatically synced back up to Google Drive. So you don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to upload anything. It does not matter if it's a Word file or an Excel file, something, a Photoshop, something that can't even be read or viewed on Google. It doesn't matter. If you put it in that folder, it will sync to Google Drive. Now, if you had the ability at work, and you may or may not because of policies in your school, if you could install that at work, or you could install it at another location, all those drives are constantly syncing. So you're always looking at your most recent version. There's no need for flash drives. And that's essentially why we're including this as part of the class. It's a great way to work once you get used to it. So in order to do this assignment, there'll be an instructional video. It will give you all those details and you'll be able to actually see it. You again are going to use your MSET Google account. And if you're using this already and you're using it with another Google account, that's okay. You can switch between them. You know, there'll be an icon down in your system tray and you can change from one to another if you have to. So you're going to install the Google Drive app locally, so on your computer. You're going to create within Google Drive an Integrating Technologies folder where any work that we do for this class will be stored. And then you're going to share that folder with your teacher, me, and your classmates. And I will get those addresses. Once I receive them, I'll get those posted up on the Moodle so that you can find them and you can share with everyone. Now, in order to show that you've done this, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take a screen capture of your drive and name it Drive Pick last name first name. Now this obviously doesn't mean last name first name, and it obviously doesn't mean my last name and first name. So you would name yours Drive Pick Jones, Mary, and that will let everybody know that it's a picture of your drive. We'll all get to see it. So if you're not familiar with screen capture, basically when you have anything on your computer monitor, you can just take a picture of it. So you're going to take a picture of that, you're going to save it into Drive, And once that drive has been shared with us, the moment you save it in there, we would be able to go on and see. Maybe it would take a minute or two to sync it back up to the cloud and for us to get a view of it. And I'll go into some details in the instructional video about specifically how to do all this. So essentially for this assignment, you're installing Google Drive locally on your computer. You're taking a screen capture to show it, to show that it's out there, and you're sharing that correctly with the rest of the class. Again, any questions or problems, please contact me through email and we'll get them worked out.